Interesting thing about all this, about what I'm doing, emotions are like colors is the topic for the day. Sounds a little strange on the face of it. You think, well, really don't understand what that means, so we'll go into this and talk a little bit about emotions and where they originate. The small little almond-shaped ends of the long tubular-shaped parts of your limbic system is called the amygdala. The amygdala receives input from the five senses through your brain, through the different olfactory nerves and this, that, and the other. And in turn, it sends impulses to the different parts of your brain, frontal, prefrontal cortex, orbital frontal cortex, all that, hypothalamus, hippocampus, all that kind of stuff, and your brainstem. This is basically, right, it's right located at the base of your brainstem, and all of the other parts of the brain kind of surround that. So this is just trying to give you a little bit of an idea about where this is and where the emotions come from. Say you and I are walking down the street and we're approached by this bulldog that's starting to run after us, and at first thought you're like, I need to move, I need to go, and you're wondering why I'm not running, and so you take off and you run away, and eventually the bulldog clamps down on your leg, and I start laughing. And you're thinking, what in the world are you laughing about? And I tell you, look at the dog. And you realize the dog doesn't have any teeth. He's just gumming your leg. And the whole thing about emotions is they're not tangible. They're not like this glass. They're very intangible. So when you think about emotions, they are real, but they're only emotions. They tell us something's going on. It's a little bit like the yellow flag at the racetrack. You see the cars going around a racetrack, and they're racing and racing and racing. All of a sudden, an accident on the highway, on the track somewhere. So the guy waves the yellow flag. Does the yellow flag make the car slow down? See, the yellow flag doesn't make the car slow down. The yellow flag tells the driver, hey, there's something wrong ahead, you need to slow the car down. So the yellow flag doesn't make the car slow down, it's just an indicator. So our emotions are like the yellow flag. And here is a little bit of a description about emotions. If you look at this diagram, and they use this to train actors. You get an actor out on the stage and they're having to cry for a certain situation or show fear or whatever. This is how they teach them. Tension with an approach creates the sense of anger. An approach with relaxation gives you the happiness, tenderness, eroticism. Relaxation with avoidance is sadness, and avoidance with tension is fear. So you think in terms of how they impact us, and then you look at what emotions can do. Emotions, words that we deal with when we talk to somebody, when we talk to a child. When you think about how you were as a child, maybe your parents may have spoken to you harshly at some point in time. They can cause emotional trauma in a child. So it's a little bit like having your choking hand around a child and corrupting a person's mind. So the results of fear-based parenting is that if you don't surrender control, a kid thinks, well, only one of us can be powerful, and so you have to surrender control to the powerful adult in their life. Otherwise, they're liable to get mad or threaten love or whatever. And the results of that is child learns that in a relationship, only one person at a time gets to be powerful. And in the end, they learn to believe the lie that drives and protects the cycle of fear, control, punishment, and disconnection in relationships. The lie that we can and should control people. Now, we don't know what we don't know. And we don't even know that we don't know it. So when you think about looking at this diagram, at the bottom left, we're on this road in our life. It's kind of like the road that was mostly traveled that we're on. And I talked about this in my last video about how we get to a point where we're sick and tired of being sick and tired. But we're on this road. And we don't know what we don't know. We don't know that we don't know it. And we don't see things as we are or as they are. We see things as we are. We see things in our life based on the things that have happened to us as a child, like the little guy that was yelled at. I remember being at a store one afternoon with my wife, walked around the corner just in time to see a father yelling at his little 7-year-old kid. He had another sibling there with him. And he told him, he said, "I'm sick and tired of you. I've been trying to get rid of you for 3 years." And the little guy was just blown away by what his dad just told him. And you start thinking about emotional abuse, the way that we talk to people, the way that we've heard or been talked to as a child. Maybe not so much that you were abused mentally or physically or emotionally. Maybe you come from a family like I did, where I was, my mom and dad were always married, but I was the second oldest of 8 kids. So as I grew up, mom and dad had to put more and more attention on the younger ones in the family. And so what happens is I felt less and less valuable, like I was insignificant, because my siblings kept getting all the attention. And so we all have these things in our lives that cause us to think a certain way. We also have these other issues as we get older that we do that maybe we're not so proud of. So maybe we've created some issues in our life that we're not, we're maybe a little shame, some guilt, some fears in our life. But we get on this road most traveled, and we get to the point we realize that people are disturbed not by the things, but by the view they take of them. So the perspective that we have about an individual issue in our life is what causes us to think a certain way. And so we're going down this road, and we get up to a point that our perception defines our context, and we think, well, I really want to be the better person of who I am. I want to become a good person about my life. I want to do the right thing, but yet we continually do this, stay on the same path. And so we get to a point in this area where we pay a toll. We stop and we think, this is something that's really going on, and it's where the ignorance about what's going on creates a fear. So we have this thing, we talked about the bulldog, no teeth, and we got these emotions are coming to us, and we have a fear in our life that's keeping us from getting to where we want to be. So it may be a fear of speaking to people, it may be a fear of flying. You think about all kinds of different things that people might be struggling with that causes fear. And so we pay a toll for that. We move on down the road and we look at what I would call weapons to win, or weapons to not lose. And we think about not participating. You say, well, how do you go about that? You got fight or flight, weapons to win, castles of comfort, quagmire and quicksand. You think, what if I just don't participate? So you think about, well, I'm not going to play that game. I've got this fear of whatever's going on in my life, but I'm just not going to go there. Or I'm involved in something, and I get in the middle of it, and I say, you know what, I just quit. So you think in terms of, well, maybe you're playing chess with somebody, and you're losing. And so you just upset the board. Or just say, you know what, I'm done. I'm not even going to finish the game out. So, there's all kinds of examples we could have there. Maybe changing the rules. You think in terms of, I'm going out, I've got a friend, maybe a girlfriend, maybe if you're a lady, you got a boyfriend, whatever. But so you've got a date, and you're out, and all of a sudden it just starts going too fast, or you find somebody else that you're more interested in, and you just change the rules and say, well, I want to just be your friend. And so we change the rules on relationships. We'll do that. Might play the nice guy or the nice gal, where, you know what, I'm just going to help be the right, I'm just going to fix everything for everybody. So I'm going to be the fixer. Maybe be a problem. You think in terms of, you know what, I'm so sick and tired of this, and so you'll make a problem, have all kinds of emotional stuff going on there. You might keep others from winning. Think in terms of maybe somebody's got a special, maybe a dessert that you think in terms of, well, my brother always loves this special dessert, and I'm going to fix it for him. And his wife comes to me and says, I want to get that recipe, and I give her everything except for one key ingredient, because I don't want her to make the exact same thing I do, because I want to be his special, right? So we want to keep them from winning. And the other one is, the last one might be, get them before they get you. And you think in terms of, have you ever come home and, I told my spouse I'm going to be home for supper at 6 o'clock. I'll be home. I'll be in the house. She's got a special day planned. I'll be home at 6 o'clock. And at 6:15, I finally roll into the driveway, knowing full well she's going to be pissed. And so I run in the house. I kick the dog. I slam the door. Well, who in the heck left all these toys out in the yard? And I become a problem, and I actually get them before they can get me. So you think about, how do we do that? What kind of weapons to win do you have? Or what kind of weapons not to lose do you play? So we're going down, so we've got this convoluted golden rule. Here, I missed this one, we have an inverse golden rule where I now do to myself what was done unto me. And you think in terms of, my parents did this, my parents did that with relation to me, and so now I start telling myself, you know what, you're just not significant enough. You can't meet with the CEO. You can't do what you want to do. But you get into the inverse convoluted golden rule, and you'll start to do others what was done unto you. So if I do things to others that were done unto me, in other words, I start treating people so that they'll treat me the way that I want to be treated, or the way that I feel I deserve. Finally, we get this scroll of stress and impatience and cynicism, and we get into a struggle between separateness and closeness that kind of drives us into this circle of crazy. So our emotions can really just create a soup of all kinds of issues in our lives, and we get into this dungeon of deja vu. You ever had deja vu? You think about, I've gone through this before. I've been here before. I've struggled with this before. And we start thinking about deja vu, and you realize the reason it's so powerful and the reason that we feel it is because we have been on that circle. We've been going around that circle for years and years. And so what happens is we start asking ourselves, is the pain bad enough to change? And so we keep going around this circle and around this circle. The thing of it is, we get up to this top again at some point in time, and we start asking ourselves, is the pain bad enough? Do I want to change things? The emotions are there, and now we talk about the colors. The colors are not right or wrong. They just are. You might prefer a different color than me. You might prefer red over blue, but the fact is, red is red, blue is blue, and if we add them together, we get green, but green is green. So colors don't have any quality other than the color. They don't add anything to us. They don't subtract anything from us. Color is color. And if you start thinking about emotions, and you realize, well, if they're like colors, emotions are just emotions. They're not right or wrong. They just are. So we think about the journey. And we get onto this road that we want to get on, this change of things, and we find that as we continue with our life and we discover that emotions are like colors, they're not right or wrong, they're not to be invalidated, nor should they determine your behavior. We actually have the ability to choose a behavior in spite of our emotions. That's what makes us so unique as human beings. We have the ability to choose a behavior in spite of our emotions. So we get into this discussion about the ABCs of emotions. Number one, the ABCs, an adversity or something happens. So we've got something going on in our life that's causing us to feel a certain thing. The second one is the belief, the views about what happened. So we've got a belief system. Each of us has a belief system that's created. We talked about last month, our last video, that by the age of 2, we start believing a certain thing about ourselves. By the age of 3, we've actually created a belief system. So we have this belief and thoughts about what happened, and so C, there's a consequence, and these feelings come up. Well, you see this little balcony over here? You think about you maybe not think about this, but we can actually separate ourselves from our emotions and from our physical self. We're unique as humans, we're unique and able to do this. And you can actually look at yourself in light of the situation you're currently in. So think about this for a minute. You can actually think about yourself as a person right now, sitting in this room, watching yourself interact with other people in the room. That's awesome. You start thinking about it. So, okay, I can think about myself, and you start setting yourself out looking in. So we can actually take a balcony eyewitness of our own actions, and we look at ourselves and we can feel, okay, why am I having this emotional issue? What's wrong? What's causing it? What does the yellow flag mean? Well, the answer, as we're starting to go through here, we get to this point that we seek knowledge. You say, how do I deal with this? I'm going to seek knowledge, and then I'm going to take action. I'm going to stay on this road of calculated choice, creating outcomes and soliciting advisors, choosing a new behavior regardless of my feelings that is compassionate, respectful, and truthful. So I can do this and set aside what's going on in my life, think through it, create something new in spite of the emotions I'm feeling, and try to understand where's the emotion coming from, what's causing it, what's the trigger, what's really creating the feeling that I don't want, or what will create the feeling I do want, because emotions can be positive, right? So there's lessons about being good enough. Number one, no more measuring myself. I'm not going to measure myself against somebody else. You think in terms of being non-judgmental, because I don't know what I don't know, and I don't know that I don't know it. I used to drive up the Interstate 55 or 270 corridor or whatever, and I might be doing the speed limit or better, and somebody pull up behind me wanting to go around. Traffic's a little heavy. I don't want to get behind somebody else, and I just look up in my mirror and say, stay there, buddy. I'm doing the speed limit. You don't need to go any faster than me. Used to be there. You think about the road rage, all the stuff that goes on. People do this all the time. Then I got to realizing all this, and I'm thinking, I don't know what I don't know. I don't know even why I don't know it, or don't know that I don't know it. What if he's got a wife in the back seat that's going into labor? What if one of his kids just cut their foot off in a lawnmower accident? What if? Because I don't know what I don't know, and I don't know that I don't know it, why don't I just get the heck out of his way and let him go? And if the police pull him over because he's speeding, that's their problem, and maybe they can give him an escort to the hospital. I don't know. So I start thinking a different way. So no more measuring myself for others. I'm a valuable person just because I exist, not because of what I do. I talked about that last month. We have value not because of what we do. It's because we exist as people. It has nothing to do with our ability to create income or how much we can stack, how old we are. If you don't believe that, you have an accident when you walk out here the door, make sure you'll find out somebody's going to come to your aid. So we all have value because we exist, not because of what we do. I'm okay because of who I am. Everyone makes mistakes. Problems and mistakes are failures and they're teachers. And people won't be near as hard on me as I am on myself. So there's a lot to learn about how emotions can create. You'll look at this little slide here. This is pretty much the end. Every second, every minute, every hour, every day, we have a choice. We can accept our emotions, but we don't need to accept the related behaviors. We can feel afraid, but act courageously. We can feel jealous, but act kindly. We can feel all emotions. It's what we decide to do about them that really counts. So it's not about, I need to stuff my emotions. It's not about saying, I need to do this or I need to do that. It's not about right or wrong. It's about what's working for you and what's not. What is causing the emotion I have? Why am I afraid? Why am I dealing with the fear or the anger? Why am I dealing with the guilt or the shame? And in finding out what's causing that and moving on. So I have a little slide. And what I do is with coaching is in two ways. One is individual, using a whole lot of written material. We've studied, we've done all kinds of work with this. Been doing this I've been working on it since 2008. The people that taught me 25, 30 years have been in a coaching. So we do this in a one-on-one ability, working together. The other thing is we do it as a seminar, and so it's a little 3 or 4 minute video to kind of give you an idea about what we do.
I didn't know what to expect.
Absolutely no idea what to expect.
I didn't know exactly what to expect, but was extremely intrigued with the conversation I had with Mike Elfrank.
I know an individual who went through this conference, and I saw the results in their life, so I knew that it was going to be something really good and exciting and much better for my life.
I found out things about myself that I guess I had buried in my past. And when it actually came out, and you know, I was pretty much amazed that it was things that I just had no idea was laying deep inside of me, and so it came out, and it's very helpful.
I found dark places in my life that I had buried beneath just stuff piled up on me, a junk pile that was huge that I'd been carrying around most of my life.
This conference makes you dig deep down into your soul and into your past, and you get to find out who you really are, what really pushes your buttons, where you really come from.
Face the dragon and work through it and overcome the fears that have held you hostage before, even if you didn't know you had fears.
Sometimes it's very difficult to find that direction, and I have found that direction through focus.
Everything is more clear. There's actually a plan. And I set the plan myself, but they lead us in the direction to help us set our plans.
It's just a lot better outlook on life in general, on all my aspects at work and at home, with my family, with my friends. They're just going to see a big difference in me because I'm not the old Debbie anymore.
It's personally focused, and they make it tailored to your challenges and make sure that you get the most out of it.
And they put you on the right path, the path to happiness, fulfillment, and the joy and love.
Yeah, it would be a life-changing experience.
I just want to say thanks. That it was a process, and the process works.
So that's a little bit about emotions, and there's a whole lot to know. It's really a short little presentation here today, but you know, there's a lot to consider about where are you with your emotional, what's really causing the struggles in your life. And that's it. So thank you very much.